This is what also workup for heart failure, kidney, and liver disease. SAIDH, all negative.
So we begin. And we're starting our class.
So that's what he said. My diagnosis. Hyponatremia, most likely due to reset of osmosis.
You're being taped.
Doctors know what this means. I don't. No. Okay, finished. It's enough of me.
So we begin
Parshat
Vayeitze.
Okay.
We start off with the word Vayeitze means to go out. And Yaakov goes out of Beersheba, Vayelech, and he goes to Haran. Why is he leaving? Because his mother told him, you better get out of here because Esav wants to kill you. Because he stole the blessings from his father before Esav could get back in time. Remember last week we learned how he got the blessings and Esav came and he was like really, really mad. And he had in his mind to kill Yaakov as soon as...
He had to run.
So he had to run. So Rivka said, it's time. You're 63 years old. It's time you found a wife. So go to my family in Aram Naharaim, and you'll find there my brother Lavan, and maybe you'll marry one of his daughters. So he leaves. Now the question is asked. It says Vayetze and then Vayelech. Now if a person goes, he obviously leaves. You can't go without leaving. So why does the Torah give an extra word? Why does it have to tell us that he left? Say he went. He went to Haran. And second of all, it says Harana. Harana means lecharan, to Haran. When you put a lamed in front of the word, it means to. Okay, how about Opanya? To Haran. Harana, you put a hey at the end of the word, it means also to Haran. But why not say it lecharan? So we have here a few questions. So the first thing is Rashi answers some of the questions, and he says that when a tzaddik leaves a city, you can really, really feel it because he made such an impression on the city and on the people of the city that when he leaves, you feel his presence, the lack of presence.
Yeah.
But don't forget that Yitzchak was still there, and he's a big tzaddik. This is his son, so like he didn't totally leave it without tzaddik. So there's another explanation. And the other explanation, first of all, I think that this is a lesson for everyone because we say Maaseh Avot Siman Labanim. What we learn from our forefathers, we learn from their actions of how we should behave. Every person has to make an impression on where he is and have a meaningful life, meaning that you mean something to someone. Because if you left and a month went by and nobody asked you, say, where is she? And they don't feel your absence, then maybe we didn't make enough of an impression on someone. Like if you won't come next week, I'm going to say, what happened? You're felt, you add something to the presence, if it's friendship, if it's giving, if it's inspiring someone. And this is what we try and do so that, that our life should be meaningful. So he leaves. Now, the thing is that it took him 14 years to get to Haran. That's a long time. So we're told that he went first to the yeshiva of Shem Va'ever. There was a yeshiva where he sat and he learned. For 14 years, he's sitting and learning Torah. Why? Because he knew he's going to Haran. Haran, it says, Haron Af Shel Makom, it's the worst place. He's like going down here, he was, in Eretz Yisrael, and he could sit and he could learn, and he's fine. Now he's going down to all these bad people. We know that Rivka's family were idol worshippers, and like she grew up like the rose in the thorn bush, right? She was like one and only amongst all these thorns, and here he's coming to this place. And we know that Lavan, it says Aram Naharaim. The word Aram is like, if you move over the letters, it's Ramai. Lavan was not so straight. We know that he ran out to Eliezer because he saw those riches that he brought to give Rivka. And here when Yaakov came empty-handed. Why did he come empty-handed? Because on his way, Esav sent his son to kill Yaakov, Eliphaz. And Eliphaz said, my father sent me to kill you. You're my uncle, but he said, you know what, just take everything I have. Mm. And a poor person is considered dead. Just like a blind person is considered dead. So he says, take everything and you can tell your father you did what he said. You killed me. You killed me. I'm without anything. Nothing. Choser kol. Like in 1 minute, he's from a rich person went down to the pauper.
Nothing. Yeah.
Nothing. So when he came to Lavan, so Lavan runs out. He says, if the servant brought all those jewelries and 10 camels and all this, so surely Yaakov came with the goods. And he sees nothing. He says, let me hug him. Maybe he stuck it in his shirt. Maybe it's in his pouch or something. Nothing doing. He kisses him. He says, maybe it's in his mouth. Maybe he put the pearls in his mouth. Nothing doing. And so he says to him, listen, Yaakov says, don't worry. They took everything. I'm here without anything. So Lavan says, I really shouldn't let you in. You came with nothing, but I'll let you in because you're my relative, but you're going to have to work for me. And he made him work. He put him to work. After a while, he says to him, okay, what should I pay you? But before we come to Lavan, I want to mention, first of all, the word Vayeitze is each letter stands for a word. And in Hebrew, we say the Vav is Vayar, Yud is Yaakov, Vayar Yaakov, Yaakov saw. The Tzaddik is a Tziyur, is like the it's Surat Aleph. He saw the Aleph. What does Aleph mean? Aleph is Alufo Shel Olam. That's Hashem. Everything that happened to him, he saw God. It's God's doing. Can't be angry at anybody. Here I am, from a rich person to a poor person. Hashem is doing it. I have to run away from Esav. It's not, it wasn't an easy life. But everything that he did, Vayeitze, he went knowing that he sees the Aleph, he sees Hashem. If you take the word Gola, we said Gola is the diaspora. And you put in the Aleph, you put Hashem into it, you reveal Hashem in the diaspora, that's Geula. The Gola with the Aleph is Geula. Geula is redemption.
Oh, redemption.
So then we get to redemption. So what he did was his whole life was to put. Now he knew he's going down to Haran. Haran is officially, it's like the lowest place, but it says Haran na with a hey. Hey is also Hashem's name, right? We say Hashem. He says, I'm going to Haran to connect, to reveal the Aleph, to reveal Hashem in this low down place. On the way, he almost came to Haran and he said, hey, 1 minute, could it be that I passed the place where my father stopped and prayed, or the place where he brought up the Yitzchak Akedah, was the Har HaMoriah, where the Beis HaMikdash is going to be built? He said, could it be that I passed this place of the Holy Temple, Har HaMoriah? He says, I'm going to go back. I can't not pray over there. So he sort of turns around, but Hashem makes a miracle, and he folds up the whole land under him. And it says, Uva Hashemesh, he made the sun set. It wasn't time yet for the sun to set, but he made the sun set early. Why? Because he wanted him to go to sleep. And it says that Yaakov did not sleep for 14 years while he was in the yeshiva. He didn't sleep. Now, how does a person not sleep? It means that he never like went to lay down in bed. You fall asleep over the Gemara. So there was once a very special Rosh Yeshiva where he says, what do you mean? You put your pajamas on and you go to sleep? He says, Mashiach's going to come. He's going to find you in your pajamas. So this is like a high level, but the idea was that while he was learning, he was actually learning day and night. And you fall, like I say, you fall asleep over your Gemara, but you didn't actually lay down and go to sleep. Here was the first time where Hashem made the Shemesh go down. It says Kiva Hashemesh, is like Kiba Hashemesh. It's like he turned off the light, made it dark. And in the middle of your life, when you have darkness, means that Hashem wants to talk to you. And Hashem wants, it says, a person should know when he has hardships, it means Hashem wants to get close to you. It's a closeness of Hashem. So what does Yaakov do at this time? If he sees only Hashem in front of him, and he's he's not going to be easy going to Haran. He lays down to sleep. It says vayifga b'makom. Now the word vayifga means to pray. He actually prayed the tefillah of the evening prayer. We know that Avraham was the one who established the first tefillah in the morning. Shacharit vayashkem Avraham b'boker. He woke up early in the morning. He prayed the shacharit. Yitzchak, it says, yatza lasuach basadeh. He went out to the field before evening, so that was the mincha prayer, the afternoon prayer. And now Yaakov at night, he does the arvit. He was the one who established the tefillah in the evening. And he lays down to sleep. What does he do before he goes to sleep? He puts 12 stones around his head. And Rashi says he's afraid of the animals. You know, you're going to sleep, animals can come. So of course the question arises, what about your body? And they can climb over the stones. What does it mean? And of course it's a spiritual protection. What Yaakov wanted to do was to protect himself spiritually, because he says, I'm going down to Haran, and I'm afraid I shouldn't get. Remember the story I told you about the guy who was so involved in his business? He had a boot factory. And he came to the Rebbe to ask some questions, and the Rebbe saw him like so involved in his factories, sleepless nights, and how to make more money, and how to, he was like too much involved in his head was in it. And the Rebbe said to him, I've seen people with their feet in the boots. I never saw anyone with their head in the boots. He says, you're putting your head into the boots, keep your head above. It says, Yegia kapecha ki tochal. Use your hands. It's true, you got to work, but leave your head aloft. Your head should be involved with studying Torah. Your head should be involved in godly matters. Don't forget, you could deal with the sheep, you could deal with, do whatever you have to plow the land, but always remember that there is a mission, that you're praying in the morning, you're learning Torah, you're doing God's will, you're bringing God into this world. And while he's sleeping, he has a dream. And he dreams that he sees a ladder set on the ground, and the top reaches heaven. So here, this ladder is sort of connecting the low ground to the heaven. And in his dream, he sees angels ascending the ladder and angels descending the ladder. And the question is, where do the angels come from? Don't they come from heaven? Why are they first going up and then coming down? They should be coming down and then going up. So we're told that the reason is because every angel has its mission, and there are those angels that melavim, that no, they actually protect you, but they guide you. As in Eretz Yisrael, and then there are those angels that will guide him when he leaves Eretz Yisrael to Chutz La'aretz. We know that every mitzvah that a person does, he creates an angel. Every mitzvah could be an easy mitzvah. To light candles is not so difficult, it takes a minute, you say the blessing, and you're creating angels, and these angels watch over us. So he always has these angels watching over him. He did a lot of mitzvahs. And then they left because he's leaving Israel now. So to Chutz La'aretz, these angels cannot go to Chutz La'aretz. So he gets new angels their mission is to follow him and to guide him in Chutz La'aretz. And Hashem promises him, don't worry, you're going to go to Haran, I'm with you. Wherever you go, I'll make sure that I'm there. You know that I'm there with you. And I promise that you will be successful. All the blessings that I gave to Avraham are intact, and you'll see you'll be very successful. So then he says, first of all, it reminds me, you see, he sent him out on shlichut, right? He went to Haran.
Why is he going to this bad place? I thought his job was to go to Lavan and get married.
So Lavan is in Haran. That's where Haran, okay. That's where Lavan is. And Lavan is not the nicest person, but his wife, I saw her name was Adina. And the question is, how did Lavan have these two beautiful daughters and such wonderful traits? They were really special. Rachel and Leah, they are our mothers. And their mother was Adina, and I think maybe her name says it all. Like she must have been a very special woman because she ingrained in them, she raised them with very good traits, even though the father was, he was armumi, he wasn't so straight. He lied, he wasn't the best person. He was an anti-Semite, actually, he was. So, and he was very jealous of Yaakov at the end, we'll see. So anyway, I'm thinking about how the Rebbe sends his emissaries all over the world to these holes, just like Haran, and he says, "I'm with you." There was a person who said to the Rebbe, "I want to meet this person, and he must be either a basketball player but he had a lot of money, and he needed him to support his Chabad house." So he called him up and he says, "Listen, I could between the games." I could find time to speak with you if you want to come to the field. And he said, he's going to ask the Rebbe, should I go? Is it proper, that the rabbi come to this? And the Rebbe said to him, you'll make that decision, but just know that wherever you go, I go with you. So wherever we are, Hashem guides us, Hashem is with us. And if you go to a bad place, you're taking Hashem down to that, so it makes a person think like the person has a kippah on his head. He says, oh, 1 minute, Hashem is here with me. So where am I going? And people look and see you. So it makes you, just remember not to bring him down to a place where he shouldn't be. And actually, this whole journey is the journey of the soul. The soul comes from Be'er Sheva. Be'er Sheva is the well of the 7. We have 7 attributes, and all these attributes come from Bina. There's the wisdom. There's the wisdom, and then there's the understanding. When a person thinks and understands, he arouses all these emotions. And the 7 attributes are the 7 emotions of kindness, of chesed, gvura, tiferet, all these attributes of a person in how he relates to other people. He arouses it in his heart from his mind, from the understanding. The more you think about Hashem, the more you arouse the love of God in your soul, right? And the more you want to keep his mitzvahs, the more you want to get close to him, and the more you want to do kindness to other people and all that. So all these things, Be'er Sheva, your soul comes from very high. What do we say in the morning? Elokai neshama shenatata bi. Ata yatzarta. 1 second. We say, okay, so we say like this. Elokai neshama shenatata bi tehorahi. Okay, it starts off very pure. Ata barata, it goes down to the olam habriya, which is the first. There are 4 spiritual worlds. The first spiritual world is Bria. The next one, which is creation. The next one is Ata Yatzarta, is the Olam HaYetzira, the world of
Bria is beginning.
Bria is
creation.
Is creation, and Yetzira is like it's condensed. Each world is condensed to a lower level until we reach this world. And then it says, Atanafachtabi, you come down to this world. Hashem put the neshama, nafachtabi means he connected your soul to your body. He put the soul in the body, that's in this world, olam asiyah. And Vatam Hashem rabbi, and you watch over me. Hashem guides us all the way. So the soul comes down to like Haran, because this is the place, the worst, I mean, in a way, in comparison to where our soul came from, to where it reached, look what you have to deal with. I mean, you have to deal with so many things that distract you from your holy mission, and all kinds of ta'avot, all kinds of lusts and things. So we know that this is the life of a Jew, and you have with this the ladder that connected the physical and the spiritual. Is what the soul has to do. Hashem connected the physical with the spiritual. He put the spiritual soul into a physical body, and he said, "This is where you have to light harana." actually in the physical world is where we can actually do the mitzvot. A person who is not in a body cannot do it. So that's why after after the Shoah, uh, the Rebbe said, "Do for two," because those who were killed cannot do the mitzvahs. He said, "Take upon yourself, do for two, do for their neshama." When we do good deeds, we're elevating their neshamot, also their souls, because they can't. And so, maybe they do it a different way, but doing the mitzvot is the way to reveal Hashem. So this is our mission in the world, and basically we see what Yaakov did. This is what you do. First of all, you dedicate yourself to learning. It's like every a young boy goes to yeshiva before he has to get married and go out to the world. He sits in yeshiva for a while and he gets himself, gets his battery charged. You have to get yourself charged. Like, you need the preparation for going out into the world. You have to learn all the, the halachot and everything. And then you can deal with it. And then he put the stones around his head, meaning my head stays above. When I came to Eilat, I said, the minute it won't bother me, that people are walking around, how people walk around Eilat, then I know my head is stuck. You got to keep above it. You have to keep that sensitivity. And as long as you're still sensitive then it doesn't affect you. It's like you do what you have to do, and you do the mitzvah with a physical object. You take the lulav and the etrog and you shake them together. You take the candles and you light. Like you need a physical object in order to do the mitzvah. But this is where you're revealing Hashem. This is the way to reveal Hashem. In Harana, you put the hey. Hashem is in Haran. In this world, we're revealing Hashem. This is the mission. And then Yaakov wakes up and he says, "What? I slept in this holy place and I didn't know." Oh, by the way, the stones all, they fought amongst themselves, 12 stones. They all wanted to be under Yaakov's head. So Hashem made a miracle and they all became one stone. And the question is, when you put your head on one stone, you're still only on one place. But this is a very interesting message that when you're all together, there's no jealousy. There's no jealousy. It doesn't matter. You is me, me is you. We're all one. So I'm happy for you and you're happy for her and everybody's happy for each other because we're all connected. That's what unity does. And that's why when we're united, we succeed. And so when he wakes up, he takes the stone and he sets it up as a monument. And he anoints it with oil, and he calls the place Beit El, the house of God. And he promises that when he returns safely, he will offer a sacrifice on this place, just because Hashem promised that he's going to return him. And this is basically what a person in this world knows, that it's a mission and you're going to go back. The whole idea is that you're here temporarily. Like he knows, I'm going to do my mission, but the object is to go back to the Beis HaMikdash, to the Geula. We're here in diaspora, but we are pushing and persevering for the redemption. And when the redemption comes, it's going to be all good. God brings down the third temple and everybody serves Hashem, and we see with our own eyes godliness. Now he's hidden. He's hidden behind the nature. So, you can always mistake it and think maybe it's Syria. Yeah. Okay. So
this is in Syria.
Yeah. Okay. So so he promises to do that on his way back. Now let's see what happens. So he comes to Lavan, and the first thing he sees is the well. He comes to the well and he sees that there's a bunch of guys, the shepherds, gathering around the well. And he asks them where they're from. They say they're from Haran, and he says, "Oh, do you know Lavan?" And they say, "Oh yeah, we know him. Here, his daughter Rachel is coming with her flock of sheep water the sheep. And it's interesting that Lavan didn't have any sons yet, because if he had sons, he would have sent the boys, So, and Rachel was like 5 years old; she was a young girl. So first of all, he was very surprised. Jacob, he sees the shepherds are all idle with their flocks in the middle of the day, and he says, like, if somebody hired you, so you're not doing your job, and if you're your own boss, then you're wasting your time. This is not the way. So they all said, no, there's a big rock on top of the well, and we can't take it. We can't roll it off by ourselves. We wait for everybody to come, and then we do it like with collective effort. We uncover the well. So just then, Rachel is coming with her sheep and with her flock. And what Yaakov does is an amazing miracle with his remarkable strength. He rolls the stone by himself, and he helps her water the sheep. And then he tells her that he's her cousin, and she runs to tell her father. Now, if you remember, when Eliezer met Rivka, she ran to tell her mother. So why did she run to tell her father? And we're told that her mother had passed away. So she wasn't alive at the time.
And Yaakov is 63.
He's 63.
Right,
no, he's 77 already.
He's
because
77, that's right.
14 years later.
Yeah,
he's
plus, and she's 5. And she's 5.
And she's, well, listen, Yitzchak was 40 when Rivka was 3. So,
yeah,
he sees
when they get married. Not when they meet them.
So Rachel is, he sees her. Now, it's interesting because she is he sees a spiritual, when a tzaddik sees someone, they see their spiritual strength. And she is the level of malchut, which is like, you call it Knesset Yisrael. Like she says, Rachel amplifies the nation of Israel. And she's the mother, okay? But he says that he knew that he's going to have 12 tribes, and these 12 tribes will make up the Jewish nation. And he knew that Rachel was the one.
Yaakov knew this.
He knew this, and she was the one he was going to marry. And so the Torah tells us that he kissed her, and she runs to tell her father. There's a whole deep insight into this kiss, but we're not going into it now. And she runs to her father, and she says, your uncle
sent his son.
It's actually a brother-in-law because he's married to his sister. Mm-hmm. So she says, Yaakov is here, and he runs to bring him in because, of course, he thinks that has a lot of, this is an opportunity for him. So, but then, like I said, he didn't have anything. He's left without anything. So Yaakov begins working as a shepherd for Lavan, and he says to him, okay, how do you want me to pay you? He says, I'll tell you what I want. I'm going to work for you for 7 years in exchange for marrying your youngest daughter, Rachel. And he says, Rachel bitcha haktana. It became a way of speaking when you want to be very specific, because you say, Rachel, okay, you could give me anybody else, Rachel. You could say there's a Rachel in the shuk, So bitcha is your daughter. No, you can come along and tell me that your older daughter's name is Rachel. So bitcha ktana, I want the younger. So there's like no way out, It's Rachel, it's your daughter, and it's the youngest. Rachel bitcha ktana. When somebody wants to spell something out really clearly, they say, tell it to me, Rachel bitcha ktana. Just say it, Say it very clearly. Okay. So he says, fine. But he had no intention of doing that, of course. And so at the end of 7 years, he puts Leah in instead of Rachel. Now, Leah used to cry a lot. It says that Rachel was beautiful. Leah had red eyes. She used to cry a lot. Why? Because everybody said that she's the older sister and Rachel is the younger sister. So she's going to marry the older brother, Esav, and she's going to marry the younger brother, Yaakov. And she was very disturbed about it because she was a very righteous woman, actually, and she didn't want to marry Esav. And she prayed a lot to Hashem. So Leah symbolizes the power of prayer and being able to change the course of your life. You see that prayer can change a lot, because she wasn't supposed to marry Yaakov, and she and
She was supposed to marry Esau?
She was supposed to marry Esau. She's
Who's
the
Esau?
Esau is the twin, Yaakov's older twin.
Right, okay.
So
we
there's
call
two
it
brothers.
Esau? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Esau.
Yeah.
I think in English it's
Yeah.
Esau. I've been confused for a while.
ESAU or something. Yeah. So in Hebrew we say Esau. So he says, so she was able to change that decree, and she married Yaakov. And then she wasn't supposed to have children, but Hashem gave her children because she really prayed hard. And she had more children than anyone, because if the 12 tribes, and there are 4 mothers, because Leah came with Shifcha, with a concubine. I don't know how you call those.
Maidservant.
Maidservant.
A maidservant.
And Leah and Rachel also came with a maidservant. There was Bilhah and Zilpah. So each one should have had like 3 children, and that's 12. But that didn't happen. So Leah first, before they get married, let me tell you what happened. Yaakov had a feeling that Lavan was going to trick him, because he knew he's a cheater. So he made a sign language with or some sort of a code with Rachel, that under the chuppah she was going to show him this code, so he'll know that it's the right one. And Leah says, look, he made this big party and he invited all these people, and he's putting Leah in the chuppah, and her sister Leah is going to be embarrassed. She says, I don't want my sister to be embarrassed. So just imagine giving up her fiance, giving up her chatan for her sister not to be embarrassed. She gave her sister the signs. And her sister was the one who was under the chuppah. Now you see the kala, that's why we cover.
So they both cheated, Yaakov.
She joined in. Well, listen, because of that, she prays to Hashem. Everybody came to pray to Hashem when there was a decree in the times of Menashe, and Abraham came, and Yitzchak came, and Yaakov and Moshe, and all the tzaddikim, and Hashem didn't listen to them. When Rachel came and she said, whose mercy is greater, yours or that of flesh and blood? I gave up my signs for my sister. Won't you give up for your children? And Hashem said, stop crying. And he accepted her prayers. And that's why she was buried on Eim HaDerech, on the way, that when her sons go out to Galut, she prays for them. And V'shavu banim legvulam, she was given a promise that her children will return in the Geula. So that now Yaakov didn't know it was Leah, and the next morning he sees, hey, this is not my wife, the one I asked for. So he goes to Lavan and he says, why did you do this to me? So he says, well, listen, it's a custom in our place that we don't marry off the younger daughter before the older one, right? So he says, you know what? I'll give you also Rachel. You can marry Rachel too, but you have to work another 7 years. But so they waited a week, because you don't mix simchot, you don't mix, you don't marry 2 children at the same week. The sheva brachot, you have to have the 7 days of this rejoicing, and then he made another wedding. Okay.
He got married soon after?
Right, yeah, sure, right after.
To Rachel. Oh, good. He didn't have to wait.
He didn't have to wait the 7 years.
Of working.
Okay, but Rachel is really envious of her sister. Why is she envious? Because her sister had 4 children, one after the other, and she was barren. So she had Reuven. Reuven means Hashem saw Reu. Hashem saw and gave me a good son. Shimon, Shama, from hearing. Hashem heard, and he gave me a son. Levi, now my husband's going to join me because I have already my 3rd son, and the others didn't have children yet. And then she has Yehuda, and she says, now I thank Hashem. Like I did more than my portion. I have 4. So she gave her maidservant to, she stopped bearing children. And
Rachel?
Leah. So Rachel, being envious, it says, how could she be envious? She's such a special woman. She was envious of her because she thought she was so much greater than her. She said, she must be much better than me if she had children and I didn't. Yeah. So, you're allowed to be envious of somebody who's better than you spiritually. It says physically and the gashmius in the physical material world, look at those people who have less than you and feel good. There's always those who are worse off. So, it says, lo tachmod, don't, you shouldn't even want what they have. Be happy with what you have. But in the spiritual sense, you always should aspire to reach higher and look at those who are better than you. And she looked at Leah as she was much better than her, and that's why she was jealous. So she gives her maidservant. No, the story goes like this. One second. So Rachel, she gives her maidservant Zilpah to Yaakov, and Zilpah gives birth to two children. First Leah gave her maidservant Bilhah, and they had two. She had two sons, Dan and Naphtali. And then Rachel said, "You know what? I'll give my maidservant." So she gave her Zilpah to Yaakov, and Gad and Asher were born. Now, one day, Reuven comes home with, in Hebrew, it's called dudaim. In English, it says either mandrakes or jasmine. So it's a plant, and it says the plant is good for poriut. It's good for helping women have children, for conception. And so Rachel sees it, and she says to Leah, "Maybe you'll give me some of the dudaim of your son. Give me some of this plant. Maybe it'll help me and I'll have children." And Leah says, "Not only did you take my husband," because she knows that it says Yaakov loved Rachel more than he did Leah. Leah was like snua, he wanted Rachel. And so she says, "Not only did you take my husband's affection, you took him from me, and now you want my son's the plant." So she says, "You know what? I'll take the plant in exchange for giving you Yaakov tonight, because this was her night. He was supposed to be in her tent." And she said, "Okay, I'll let you take Yaakov tonight. Just give me the dudaim." Now she didn't do the right thing, because it says when a tzaddik, you don't mix with a tzaddik's bed, and because she was like it's like a zilzul. It's sort of like not respecting enough, know that Ken, that a tzaddik knows what he wants. I think I know who it is. Ken, it's open, patuach. So we'll have to go on just a little bit more. Do you have time? It's okay, because we started late. ורדית, התחלנו מאוחר, אז אנחנו נמשיך, okay? Okay, good, you speak English, right? So we said that they made this exchange, and Leah becomes pregnant again. And she has her fifth child, and then she has her sixth child. So she has six sons, and she makes six sons. It's Reuven, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda, and then she had Yisachar and Zvulun. So Dan and Naphtali were from her maidservant Bilhah, and Gad and Asher were from Rachel's maidservant Zilpah. And here, how many? There's two left, because they had a Ruach HaKodesh. They knew. They had prophecy.
What does two left mean? What do you mean two left?
Two more sons. He was supposed to have 12 sons. They all knew. They were like prophets. The women were prophets just as much as Yaakov. And they knew that there were 12 tribes. So they knew that there were only two sons. Now she gets pregnant a third time, Leah. And here she says to Hashem, "Do me a favor, make it a girl, because if I have another boy, what's left for Rachel? She's going to have less than the maidservants. Now, that's embarrassing." So her prayers were answered. Again, we say Leah's prayers get answered. And Hashem turns her into a girl, and her name is Dina. Dina, that's her daughter Dina. And then Rachel gets pregnant, and she has a son, and she calls him Yosef. Now, this is 14 years. He worked for 7 years and then another 7 years. So 14 years are up, and Yosef is born. Yosef is the only tribe that has a samach in it. And it says that he had the power to fight the Satan, because, here he's fighting in Haran. It's like it wasn't easy, and Lavan was giving him a hard time also. So Lavan became rich because of Yaakov, and he also had boys. He had sons. All of a sudden, his sons were we see the Torah tells about his sons. So after 14 years, Yaakov comes to his Lavan and he says, listen, I'm going to leave. And his father says, oh, you brought me such prosperity, and please stay. And he persuades him to stay. And he says, let's make a new agreement. And he says, all the sheep that will be speckled or spotted will be yours. And Hashem makes a blessing, and all the flock produces just whatever the agreement was. So it says that Lavan kept changing the agreement, and every time he changed it, Yaakov won out. He was, he was very prosperous. So Hashem blesses him, and he had an abundance of animals, and he's very wealthy, and he has flocks and servants and possessions and everything. Remember,
Lots of speckled sheep.
Like a speckled and spotted and striped and whatever. So he remember he came without anything, and here he's leaving like Hashem promised with a lot of riches. So it took another 6 years, and then there was tension between him and Lavan's sons, because the sons of Lavan were accusing Yaakov and saying that, oh, you became rich on my father's expense. So Yaakov says, Lavan is not the same today like he was. Like you could say, Panav lo kitmol shilshom, like he's not the same towards me, and he's like hostile. He senses the hostility, and he decides it's time to leave. So he calls his wife Rachel and Leah, and he says, listen, it's time to go back. It's time to leave. And this is the story with Lavan, and he's not, and they support him. And they say, we're also being mistreated by our father as well, and we're ready to go with you. So they do it secretly. They take all the possessions and they go back to Canaan. 3 days later, Lavan hears about their departure, and he runs after them. And Hashem tells Lavan in a dream, do not harm Yaakov. Now, this is interesting because before they left, Rachel steals the idols of her father, and she sits on them. She puts them on the camel. And when Lavan, on the 7th day, Lavan overtakes Yaakov on Mount Gilad, and he says, why did you leave without giving me notice? And you stole my idols. And Yaakov didn't know that Rachel took the idols. And he says, check it out, search. And he goes around the tents and he's looking, and he says, it's not here, it's not there. He didn't know that Rachel was sitting on it. And she said, I can't get up, because she said she couldn't get up. She was in a woman's way. And she said, I'm sitting. So Yaakov says to Lavan, it's enough mistreatment. And he says something that he shouldn't have said, because he says, if you find the idols here, that person will die. Mm-hmm. And a person has to be so careful what comes out of his mouth. And that's why she died in the next childbirth, when she gave birth to Binyamin, right, the youngest son. That was the 12th tribe. So that's where she was buried. She gave birth to him on the way, and that's where he buried her. So a person should really, really be careful. Just like when you say a good thing, it could come true. A bad thing could too. Be very, very careful. So anyway, they finally make some sort of a agreement, and they put up a mound of stones, and they say, this is a witness of our pact between us. And Lavan goes home, and Yaakov continues on his journey. And on his way, we'll hear next week where he meets the angel of Esav. And he calls the place Mahanaim, which is like 2 camps. Mahane is a camp, Mahanaim is like 2 camps. He split the camp into 2, but this is the end of this week's Parsha.
I didn't get last week's Parsha.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah, okay. I didn't get it from last week. I don't know what happened.
Okay.
So you said something about a video.
Yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
So up till now, understood, clear, yeah?